the beginning of it to ward off enemies. Just throwing some nerdery cartoon stuff there.
It's in Thor Ragnarok, I believe.
Yes.
I believe that's when he's fighting that, whatever he's fighting. And it's awesome. Like, anytime a Led Zeppelin song shows up in a movie, you're like,
Sweet.
let's do that. Let's do that. I love that. Good pick, Lily. That's on a lot of people's list. Kevin, Pittsburgh Kevin, what do you got, bro?
Lou, you know I love the ladies. So I'm going to bring a lady into this mix here, and that is the venerable Janice Joplin, Piece of My Heart.
That's such a good one.
Janice Joplin. It's technically a Big Brother and the Holding Company.
There you go. Yeah.
One of the groups, she sang before. This was the band she was in before she went solo until her in later '68 when she went solo. Biggest chart-topping success was known as For Me and Bobby McGee. The song is about a lovelorn woman so enraptured by her man that she's willing to break off yet another piece of her heart if only he will take it. I mean, this is like, the song has become a little bit overplayed, probably, right? I mean, I've been in so many. Anytime you play in a band and you have a female singer, it's like mandatory. You got to cover "Piece of My Heart" by Big Brother and the Holding Company. So a lot of people are like, it's become not as effective as it was when it was released. But if you think about that, she's crying in like literal, like the pain of love, Yes. Joplin showed off her extraordinary vocal dexterity on the song, which was right in her wheelhouse in terms of dynamics and subject matter. And this was just one of those things that just really kind of showcased everything that was awesome about Janis Joplin. Her version, Cry Cry Baby was another one that has just like
another wail.
Oh my God. Like tortured wail, but yet absolutely beautiful performance. So good pick, Pittsburgh Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's have a chat now.
I tell you really quickly. Tell you the last three are on my list.
Yeah, we can come back to that. But go ahead, tell us your list.
Just the last three I had was Steven Tyler on "Back in the Saddle" from Rocks.
Oh, good one.
Yeah. Another one, the end of Cemetery Gates by Pantera, Phil Anselmo, where him and Daryl go back and forth with the high note.
Yes.
And then Wasted Time by Skid Row, Sebastian Bach.
Yes.
There you go.
Wow.
As much as I don't like to talk about him, but yes, I love the band.
Oh, he doesn't like me either, but don't worry.
Oh, word. Oh, no. He doesn't like me for another reason than you, I'm sure.
But we're not
That's
allowed
a long
to talk
story.
about the reason why Lily doesn't like Lily. She doesn't like Lily. That's top secret stuff.
Wow.
So we have Chris Czynszak here of the Decibel Geek podcast. That's the Decibel Geek podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but before we talk about that, can you sort of give us the Reader's Digest version of like sort of your journey into music?
Into music or into podcasting?
Well, I mean, you were a music journalist or something, correct? Before you got into podcasting? I mean,
yeah, well,
dude, this guy, listen to your podcast, dude, you know a lot of shit about music. I thought I knew a lot about music. I thought Lily knew a lot about music. I thought Keith knew a lot about music. Dude, you know a lot about music. So you obviously have some passion for it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, music's been a main it's been a main direction in my life, my whole life. But I mean, I obviously grew up a fan, got into rock and roll. And then I did start playing guitar when I was a kid, and then moved up to playing in bands in high school through college, and then into my 20s. And nobody you've heard of. And like, we never really got off the ground, but played clubs and stuff.
Course,
but as after I met my wife, she had 2 kids, and then I had to settle down. I was like, well, I got to settle down. I can't be in bands anymore, but I need to stay connected to rock and roll. So at that time, I had just gotten a day job, which I actually hated, but I got an iPod, and that's when I found what podcasts were on the Apple iTunes store.
What year, about is this?
2009, 10, somewhere around there.
But
I mean, let me go back a little bit. Before that, though, actually in the mid-2000s, 2004, 2005, I started writing for a local rock website. That was what it was. And initially, I still had a band at that time, and the only reason I took the job writing for the website is so I could promote my band. You're a musician, you know how that is.
Yep.
So I did that. The band fell apart. And then after the band fell apart, I'm like, well, I can take this more seriously. Took over that, started booking concerts, which I recommend to no one. Don't ever book concerts.
I'm learning that.
Yeah. Very hard, especially with local acts. But did that. And then so then I got a day. So I got to, meet a lot of people through that website because I started covering the national acts that were coming in. So like Corey Glover from Living Colour, Michael Wilton from Queensryche. I was interviewing them ahead of the time they came in for shows, and I got a real charge off of that. And I'm like, well, that's more fun than, writing. So then, but yeah, I got a day job, and that's how I discovered podcasting right around 2009, 2010. So at the time it was mostly comedy podcast. It was like Mark Maron, Adam Carolla, and Nerdist and stuff like that.
Right.
There wasn't a lot for rock and roll podcasting back in those days. But I was still writing on the side. I was actually putting a book together about Vinnie Vincent, who used to be in Kiss, and
The Vinnie Vincent invasion.
Yeah. There's a whole saga with that. But yeah,
There always is.
I was about 100+ pages in on it. My whole hard drive crashed. I lost most of the book.
Oh, no.
And but I still had audio interviews I had conducted for the book. And so at the time I'm listening to podcasts and I have these audio interviews. I'm like, well, I can do this. I'll just put these interviews on a podcast and I'll start doing it that way. And that's how it started.
I see. So how did Decibel Geek come about?
Well, that was really it. I mean, I had these interviews and I was like, well, I could do a rock and roll podcast and see how that goes. And so I started up on my own, and the first 2 Vinnie Vincent specials came out, and I interviewed I had interviews with people that had worked with him, and mostly all been burned by him. And, those actually, I was shocked. Like, I was thinking nobody was going to give a damn about it, but like so much interest, like the numbers kind of went off the charts when I put those out. And, I did it on my own for a couple of months, and then my co-host Aaron Camaro came on board, and he had radio experience and everything, and so he was a DJ in the past, and he missed being a DJ, and he's like, well, this is even better because I can do what I want to do, and that's how it started. That was in 2011. So yeah, we just passed the 10-year mark this year.
Well, congratulations. And yeah, Adam definitely has that rock DJ voice. You can hear.
Oh, Aaron, yeah.
Yeah, I mean Aaron. I'm sorry, Aaron. Yeah, sorry. Then you started this very awesome thing called Rockin' Pod. Now, what is Rockin' Pod, and like, how did that get started?
It started because this is I'm an obsessive person, so like I don't know when to leave well enough alone. So it's not like I can't just do a podcast. I have to create a damn convention and run a convention out of it. But anyway, no, the way it came about was I was doing the podcast for a few years, and as a lot of us, as we're doing right now, a lot of us will do stuff over Skype and stuff, and there was like a lot of shows where the hosts had never met each other in person. They just did the show, through the internet. And it was always like we'd have these conversations and be like, man, it sucks that you live 600 miles away. It'd be cool to have a beer sometime. And we never had a way of doing it until my friend BJ Cramp from Rock and or Roll podcast, he was like, we should have a meetup or something. And he's like, and you live in Nashville, and Nashville's kind of a good touristy music town, so why don't we try to do it there? And I was like, okay, well, if we're going to have a meetup, then how are we going to pay for it? And he's like, well, we should crowdfund it. And I'm like, okay, well, if our listeners are going to pay for us to meet each other, they should be able to come too. So if they're going to come to see us, they shouldn't just have to sit around and stare at us, talk to each other. So I was like, maybe I should get some vinyl and memorabilia vendors. So I did that. And then, as you guys probably know, a lot of the rock guys from back in the day moved out here and live out here. So that's been a great source for interviews for me over the years. So I just started calling in favors, going, would you come to this and meet some podcasts, do some interviews, meet some fans? And they're like, yeah. So it just organically turned into a convention. It wasn't even supposed to be a convention. It was just going to be a meetup. And then it's, now we're going into our 4th year.
So that means it started in, help me with the math, because we skipped
2017.
the year. We skipped the year because we were having a do-over year.
It would have been, I guess.
This would have been the 5th year, right?
Well, no, it is our 4th. With 2017, 2018, and 2019, we did it. And then 2020, we did not. Right. And now 2021, we're doing it. So it's really the 4th, but it would have been the 5th if we'd gone forward.
Gotcha. So what is, so this has evolved, obviously, over the years. And so what is new for this year that you haven't done in the past?
Well, we've expanded it a lot. I mean, this year we're in a new venue. We have 2 ballrooms to use. So we're going to have one ballroom that'll be kind of like the main regular convention hall. It'll have a stage with panels and stuff and a lot of the vinyl vendors. And of course we'll have several guests that are coming that want their own vendor table to meet fans and sell autographs and stuff. So that'll be kind of a standard convention hall. Then we have a podcaster ballroom where a third of the ballroom will be live podcast sessions happening in front of a crowd. And then the rest of the room is kind of home base for the podcasters. Look, Lou, you came in 2019, so you saw how cramped everybody was into one room that year.
But it was super fun, man. It was super fun.
It was fun, but it's going to be much better for sound and everything this way.
Yeah, there was a little I remember interviewing bands and like really straining to hear kind of what they were saying. But yeah,
it'll be better for that. And also, but yeah, we've got more guests, more podcasts. We have over 30 podcasts coming this year. So one thing I've noticed that is kind of on the comeback trail is streaming radio shows. We have quite a few of those coming this year, and that seems like those are kind of on a comeback now. Maybe because of the licensing with music and stuff. I'm guessing that's why those have grown in popularity again. But yeah, we have a pre-party concert the night before. The expo's on Saturday. We're going to be doing a movie screening. Can't say too much about that just yet. After the expo, I think you already know, Lou.
Yeah,
but
we talked about it.
Yeah, but and then Sunday, and by the time most of you hear this, we'll have it announced this week. But Carmine Apiece and Vinnie are going to be announced this week.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so they're going to be, we're booking SIR for the day on Sunday, and they're going to be doing like some drum master classes, and they have a podcast called Hanging and Banging that they're going to do a live version of that at SIR also. So, and then we have the comedians coming, Craig Gass, Don Jameson from That Metal Show, and Courtney Cronin-Dold. They're going to do a special comedy show Sunday night downtown. It'll include music too, and they're working on a special guest for that. So it's 3 days, and hopefully I survive it.
Yeah. And okay, so you sort of answered this, but just sort of maybe kind of fill in the gaps for the total dunces in the audience. You're not. So I'm not a podcaster. Why would I go to this?
Right.
Just fill it in.
Well, it's really a weekend to kind of just celebrate the genre of rock and roll. And like the podcast, well, obviously people like me and Lou and you guys would be, to me, I bring in all the special guests as bait to get people into podcasting. That's my main motivation every year. So obviously it's cool. So, but we have plenty of celebrity guests coming this year that are in the rock field. One panel that I'm really excited about and 3 guests that are going to be on it is all of us grew up on MTV. So we've got Mark Goodman, the original MTV VJ, Matt Pinfield, and Ricky Rackman, who hosted Headbangers Ball. They're going to be on a panel about MTV, which is going to be awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and then but like a lot of these guests will have their own table. They'll be doing meet and greets and signing and photo with everything with fans. And there's that. There's a lot of vinyl and memorabilia vendors. There's going to be stage panels all day. We will actually have some acoustic performances on stage this year. Time signing sessions. We'll have live speed painting artists doing rock and roll painted stuff. There's gonna be a lot of stuff going on there, but yeah, it's gonna be a really, really fun event this year.
It was a total blast in 2019. I got to tell you that. And this sounds like bigger and better. And, just, it seems like, and I know that as you go through it, like each time you get a little better, you builds up a little bit better. We learn from mistakes and, things like that. Right. So also I want to add that like those of you that aren't familiar with Nashville is a kick-ass town. It is a partying place. We only went out one night into the city, and I won't make that mistake again. Go out every night, be Ubering from the hotel to go, because it is, and it is not, I was just an impression because it was so associated with country music that this is going to be a very kind of like everything closes early because we're going to church in the morning and the whole thing. And I was completely shocked. So that is not what it's way more like New Orleans or Vegas, to be honest.
And I tried to tell him that.
Yeah, it's a party town, and it stays open late too. And yeah, if I have friends coming from out of town, I'll take them down to Broadway and everything because that's the tourist trap. But it gets pretty insane down there. But I will say we do have a pre-party concert the night before that is downtown. It's a little bit off the strip, thankfully, But it's at a great place called the Mercy Lounge, big club. And we will have opening the show is going to be Ron Keel doing an acoustic set. So I'm excited to have him back. Then we've got a local band called Rock United. They do like a lot of 70s rock covers. And then Tommy Skio, who used to be in Tesla, his new band Resist and Bite is going to play a headline set. And then they're going to do some Tesla tunes also. And then after that, we have the Rare Hair set that my friend Tyson Leslie, who plays keys and Vixen, organizes. And it's usually about over 100 players in that set. Oh, it's different lineups for every single song. And it's some of the best like metal cover songs you'll ever hear. And we'll have several of the Expo guests getting up on stage and doing songs that night. It's going to be a great show. Yeah.
Fantastic. And what are the dates and how can people get more information?
The weekend is August 6th through the 8th. Pre-party on Friday the 6th. Expo on Saturday. The SIR stuff, which will be announced soon, will be on Sunday. Just go to rocktheletterinpod.com and you can get your tickets there. We are sold out of the VIPs. We sold out this week, but we have plenty of regular general admission and early admission tickets available.
Awesome. And you guys put together this awesome commercial, and I'm going to play it right now. So everybody listen to this. This is badass. You guys are going to love it.
This August will rock as Rockin' Pod returns to Nashville. This annual convention brings together rock artists, fans, and podcasters for an unforgettable rock experience. Meet Billy Sheehan, Ron Keel, Ricky Rachtman, Mark Goodman, Matt Pinfield, Don Jameson of That Metal Show, drum legends Carmine Apiece and Vinnie Appice, along with current and former members of Winger, LA Guns, Accept, Roxy Blue, and more. Panels, signing sessions, and vinyl and memorabilia vendors, all available to you at Rockin' Pod. Music podcasters from all over North America.
Oh, what happened? What? This is what I get for streaming. Anyways, I will download that and play the whole thing in its entirety. You guys get the impression there. And I had the web address as Rock and Pod Nashville Rock and Pod Expo. Is that right?
Either one, or NashvilleRockandPodExpo.com or just rockandpod.com.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm having unstable internet. You messaged me and said we were freezing.
It was freezing once in a while. It seems good for the last few minutes.
You know, internet. Anyway, but it's all recorded direct into the computer, so none of that's going to matter as it goes out to all the places later on. So, Chris, man, can you we're gonna wrap up here with maybe another round, and then we do This Day in Music. Can you hang out with and bullshit with us for maybe another 15 minutes? You good?
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Guys, check it out, rockandpod.com or NashvilleRockandPodExpo.com to get more information, to get tickets. It is a super fun time, and we should talk to Ron because he listens to our show. Maybe we could get him.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe we should see if we can get him on. Okay. Cool, man. So, Lily, you got any more? Did you got one or two more? Maybe you want to talk about real quick?
Sure. We'll throw out "Welcome to the Jungle," Guns N' Roses, featured as the opening track for "Appetite for Destruction," 1988. Amazing way to open up the album. Axl Rose lets out an inhuman scream that certainly sets the mood for the rest of the album. He provides several screams throughout the entire song. Personally, I think it's him getting some aggression out rather than jumping on a fan in stage, which probably should have kept with. They aren't screams for the sake of screaming, though. They are controlled and they do sound good. So
yeah, it's great. I think there's some other. That album is peppered with some great screaming.
Oh, yeah,
also, my good friend Matt Muckle is an amazing drummer. Just a little bit of trivia. That album, I believe, has cowbell on every song.
I think we talked about that once.
Or every song except for one. It's like literally the album with the most cowbell on it. Real quick, I'm just going to throw one out real quick, and I'm not going to say too much about it. Highway Star.
Oh, yeah.
By Deep Purple. That is one of the sickest screams. And that's real early rock. That is not like, 80s or whatever. This is pretty early in rock, 72. Great track. If you don't know it, I don't know what rock you've been.
I don't know why you're listening if you haven't heard of that song.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyways, Highway Star by The Purple. So what do you got, Mr. Pittsburgh Kevin?
I got low-hanging fruit here. It's Screaming Jay Hawkins. Yes, I put a spell on you. An oldie but goodie.
Yeah.
A lot of screaming in that one.
There is
the original shock rocker.
Yeah.
Yep. Good pick. I have one of the ones I have on here that has, I think, some amazing kind of like, I don't know what else you would call this other than screaming, but all that whooping and hollering that David Lee Roth does on Running with the Devil.
Yeah.
It counts.
That is like, I mean, that's insane. And that is just, I mean, that's what a powerful track and what a great sort of like accent to what he's doing vocally. I mean, there's a lot of funny stories about that album, and you know, Ted Templeman saying, you know, being frustrated with David Lee Roth's vocals, but man, at the end of the day, you know, they found some way to capture magic. They just did.
Magic.
Also, the Van Halen track "On Fire" from 1984.
I was just going to say "On Fire."
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he could really do that. So, you know, look, man, Sammy might be a, you know, more like a straight up kind of singer, but David Lee can pull off that kind of craziness that just really adds some kind of energy.
Flavor.
I compliment what Eddie was doing on the guitar really well.
Yeah.
Because Eddie's off the hook with the guitar, you know. So those, and that was the thing, right, Chris? Remember, like that was the whole thing. You had the singer and the lead guitar player. They were kind of co-fronting the band. It was like the whole thing for like years. Like you start with Mick and Keith, and you go to Steven Tyler and Joe Perry. You go to Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, Eddie Van Halen, David Lee Roth, Ian Gillan, Richie Blackmore, blah 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 down the line. Jump in anytime you want to add something, Chris. I'm totally fine, dude. Lily?
You want me to do another?
Yeah.
Well, Chris mentioned Steven Tyler before, but I'm going to go ahead and put Dream On out there because it is one of the more, you know, prominent ones. The 1973 debut album featured the power ballad. He wrote Dream On about the hunger to be somebody. It was just a little sonnet that he wrote. He started playing one day. He never thought it would end up being a real song. Dream On gave many fans their first listen to the quote-unquote demon of screamin'. More than halfway in, Tyler builds to a climax, then lets loose incredibly. Joe Perry resisted playing the song live. He didn't really appreciate the musicality of it until later, but I did know it was a great song, so they put it in their set. I have not heard anybody be able to replicate this, and people have tried, other than Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. I heard him sing it once at a live concert, and he got real close to it. But people try to sing the song. They can't do the end. Just calm down. You're not going to be able to ever do it because he's amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, it's really kind of like Tyler discovering his real rock voice on that song. Because the rest of the song, he's singing it very low. And, you know, that first album, he sings a different way.
Oh, yeah.
But like with Dream On, he just sort of adapted that and just kept going with it.
Absolutely.
Chris, have you ever heard Ronnie Dio? I'm a Dio fan. Dio's my favorite singer. But you ever heard his version of it with Yngwie?
Yeah, it's been a while, but I remember loving it.
It's
though.
good, but it does not.
It doesn't hit it.
It doesn't quite get.
It's like
there's something about the way Steven Tyler like pulled that off. We talked about this before.
Yeah.
There's just like you have to do a certain thing on that song to really.
Oh yeah, it's one of those you probably want to think twice before you cover it.
Yeah.
You're really going up against some tough competition.
I mean, and Dio is like, I mean, he's freaking amazing, and like, he sounds good. I mean, he's a great singer, and like, he doesn't do anything wrong, but it just doesn't have that thing.
Yeah, it's Steven's song.
it's this close. It's always this close, and then it's like,
you know,
didn't quite get it.
and quite frankly, man. Yngwie, I like, well, but that's the guitar. It's a little bit different, you know. he sounds great on it. But it's very cool. I want to talk about a guy who, you know, I mentioned Little Richard at the beginning, but, you know, we can't talk about screaming in rock or pop music or rock music without talking about the godfather of soul.
Here he is.
James Brown. James Brown.
Here we go.
And I pulled this up to it'll be a miracle because nothing is working tonight. But the top 7 James Brown screams.
Oh boy.
Baby, You're Right. Shout and Shimmy. Lost Someone from Live at the Apollo. Brother Rap.
And of course, it works in the middle of your speech
it meets
there.
in the middle of the speech, yeah. Smoking and Drinking. Down and Out in New York City. That's a great tune. Great tune. I Got Ants in My Pants.
And I want to dance.
Mother Popcorn from Sex Machine. I Can't Stand Myself. But anyway, so those are some of James's great screams. Chartattack.com will give you some more information. Any other like honorable mentions? Anything you guys want to say before we jump over to This Day in Music?
I'm not.
There's
gonna talk.
one I thought of that. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one I thought of that I didn't think about. I can't remember his name. It's like Millie or something. The singer for Steelheart. You remember Steelheart?
Oh yes. Oh my gosh, I can't even not believe I didn't think of that one. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
Amazing high notes.
I love
that
all of
guy
his
can hit.
vocals.
Okay. All right. On this day in 1967 was a great year.
Why is that?
Not only was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band released, but this guy named, I don't know, he started his podcast. His name's Loudini. He was born in 1967. Maybe you heard of him.
I wasn't born for a long ass time.
Me neither.
I'm old. 1967, Procol Harum's A Whiter Shade of Pale entered the UK chart for the first time.
I love that song.
It is
One of
a
my
great,
favorite
it's a
songs.
classic. The Who and Led Zeppelin appeared on this day in 69 at the Merriweather Post Pavilion, Columbia, Maryland. This was the only time the two groups ever appeared together. With Zeppelin opening the show, on the tickets, Zeppelin was spelled Lead Zeppelin.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
If anyone has that ticket, it's probably worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
On this day in 1973, check this out, Chris. In this day in 1973, Carole King played a concert in Central Park, which attracted an audience of 100,000 people.
Wow.
Nice. Good stuff.
Holy
Wow.
crap! I mean, I know like that, like Tapestry album is like, that's all. That's absolutely amazing. But crime on me.
I knew she was big. I didn't know she was that big. And that reminds me of like Grand Funk Railroad. Apparently in like 69, 70, they were selling out stadiums. And it's like, Grand Funk Railroad? Really?
And now they play casinos.
Yeah. With Bruce Kulick, formerly of
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Mark Farner's no longer in the band. He hasn't
Yeah.
been in the band for. He went to. I heard that he had like gone into Christian music or something. Am I off on that?
I think you're right. I think he did.
Okay. Real quick. Dire Straits on this day in 1985, the year I graduated high school, scored their second UK #1 album with Brothers in Arms. Brothers in Arms was one of the first albums to be directed at the CD market. Was a fully digital recording at the time when most popular music was recorded on analog equipment. The album won 2 Grammy Awards, also won Best British Album in the 87 Brit Awards. Went on to sell over 30 million copies worldwide. Who can forget? Can't forget.
Oh, wow.
Money
You couldn't
for
get away
nothing.
from that album back then.
I know. I have it around. I have it on vinyl. I bought that record. I was like, dang. In 97, a report showed that Elvis Presley was now the world's best-selling posthumous entertainer. Worldwide sells over 1 billion, over 480 active fan clubs, and an estimated 250,000 UK fans who still buy his record. Ironically, he had died owing $3 million.
Yeah, he makes more dead than he did alive.
They say that. I've heard that too. I've heard I heard Dave Grohl on Howard Stern show talking about this one time that people don't realize Nirvana is still a business.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely
They
it
make a
is.
fortune.
Meetings and business meetings and stuff with the rest of the guys, including Courtney Cox, and they have to discuss things.
Courtney Cox.
Yes.
Courtney Love.
Close.
Courtney
Cox.
Cox. What's
Courtney
Courtney Cox
Cox
doing
I
there?
think they should. I think Courtney Cox should.
She
be
should be
invited
there.
to the
I think
meetings.
they'd rather
I mean,
have her
she was
there.
from the '90s, right?
Sure,
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
He's their friend, of course.
She's a friend.
I mean, she might be.
I'm terrible at that.
Oh, man.
You can see why this podcast is so popular, Chris.
Yeah.
So let me see. Do we have any good? Okay, we have a few birthdays. Hal David.
Hal David.
Hal, you know who Hal David is, right?
Who's Hal David?
Burt Bacharach and Hal David. Come on.
Yeah, I'm
Close to
lost on that
you.
one.
Magic Moments. Say a Little Prayer. They wrote all the songs together that
Oh,
everybody.
yeah.
Whatever.
That Hal.
You guys, come on.
Butch
You guys-
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Right.
I didn't know that. I read it.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to Tom T. Hall.
Yeah, there you go.
And then-
Nashville guy.
Yep.
Klaus Main.
Say it.
Scorpions.
Happy
Yeah.
birthday, Klaus Mean.
Happy birthday to you!
America.
I love Klaus.
I think that Wind of Change was a giant hit.
Not here so much.
Well, I mean, it was about the fall of the Berlin Wall. I remember when that happened, man. It was like freaky. It was like all of a sudden, the wall's gone. Like, what the hell,
Did you see that podcast that came out last year about about that song?
Yeah, I listened to it.
There's a
Crazy
conspiracy. There's a podcast conspiracy thing that came out. It's a whole series on how they're theorizing that the CIA was behind the writing of that song.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I did not recognize this guy because I know him as Robbie, but not Robert. Robbie Steinhardt from the band Kansas, the violin player.
Yes.
And he also sang some of their songs and duetted a little bit with Steve Walsh. Happy birthday to Robbie Steinhardt today.
See the dude with the eye patch?
Yeah, no, that's Rich Williams. I'm a Kansas nerd.
Truly he is.
I am. Paul Weller from the Jam. Happy birthday to you. And Lauryn Hill, Fuji. She's a Fuji.
She was in Sister Act 2.
True.
That's
Saw
right.
that in the theater on a date.
Wow.
Sad to say.
I know a lot of stupid things, just so everyone knows.
We should just call this this section useless knowledge. Anyways,
I guess you've listened to my show.
Chris, go ahead and plug your podcast. We're going to get the hell out of here. Plug your podcast, where people can find you, and go ahead and give the Rockin' Pod info again, please.
Sure. Decibel Geek Podcast. You can go to decibelgeek.com. We're also on the Pantheon Podcast Network and, iTunes, Stitcher, all those places. Wherever you can find podcasts, we're pretty much there. Rockin' Pod Expo, just go to rockinpod.com or NashvilleRockinPodExpo.com. And just look up Rockin' Pod, all one word, on Facebook. There's a group with a lot of people in it, and that's where you get the most activity. And, I hope you'll join us in August. It's a lot of fun, and we'll see you in Nashville.
Awesome. Chris, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Lily?
My show is Hot Licks with Lily 6 Thursdays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Rock Rage Radio. You can download the app for free, or just go to rockrageradio.com. I am hosting a show on Saturday at the Subalpine. Lily 6's live Saturdays starts at 7, so be there if you're in Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania.
Awesome. And shout out one more time to Wolf's Customs. Go to wolfscustoms.online to get a custom paint job on your musical instrument. Temporarily, LouLombardiMusic.com, but soon, new website is coming. Guys, remember, if you're listening to us on places like iTunes, please give us a good rating and a review and subscribe, because it really helps us out. We do appreciate it. It's totally free, right? Doesn't cost you a thing.
Free.
Just to do a nice thing. Chris Czynszak, thank you so much for hanging out. Lily V6, we love you. Pittsburgh Kevin,
Love yins.
you're the best. Guys, have a great week. We'll catch you all on the next Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. Take care, guys. Thanks, Chris. You can go, bro, if you got to go,
Thanks.
man. Take care.
Appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.